that I tried to record this? You don't want to know that. You just plug my phone in. So, first thing I wanted to get across, and the biggest thing about my shading style, is that I hue shift. And as you can see, I've illustrated here some of the hue shifting that I did in the hair. So this is, it's yellow. And then this is going more into the oranges, and then this is right at the edge of orange and bordering onto red. Obviously, the reason why I do this, it's not for realism. I don't do realism very much. I do more realistic lighting in certain, situations. But in a lot of my character drawings, I just don't do it because I find it boring. This is very yellow. If I really wanted to, if I wanted to make the light source more extreme, I would go even further up into this. But as it was, I did not want to make the lighting source too extreme. I didn't want to do that. But I could, and I have done it in the past. The main aims of this drawing were to make it soft and to make it very fit the character, playful, alive. If I wanted to get out the thesaurus, very vivacious. Because the reference photo had very colourful, vibrant colours, very saturated. And I wanted to get that across when I was shading. So I did. I wouldn't usually have things like this, for example, like to heavily accentuate where the hair bunches, but in this case, I did really want to do that. Other things that I do is I utilize, as well as hue shifting, because if I were to hue shift so much on skin tones, it would look a little bit over the top. It might completely change the sort of way that you view the skin. It's happened before. I've made skin look too reddish, too purplish. That happens sometimes. And that can give the effect of making the skin very washed out or too flushed. So I try my best to get a mix. So some things are on the same sort of hue level as the base skin colour. See? I think that's a tiny bit redder, but apart from that, it's not a huge hue shift. So I think the main reason why I do this is so that I can communicate that it is a part heavily in shadow, and thus is less affected by the light source affecting the hue. If that makes any sense, I don't know. But I would like to think that, because these are close to each other, stuff like that. So if I'm not making any sense. I'm trying to think of how I can explain why I do it this way, but a lot of it is just me running with the flow. So I can't really tell you. But skin is very much, I start mixing in various different tones to make it look more alive. That's what I'm trying to get across, basically. There are reds, there are yellows, there are more purple colours. I did not put as many, it's not actually purple, but it looks purple in comparison to the skin tone. So this sort of colour, that looks very purplish. Often I will put that underneath the eyes to make them, look like eye bags, because pretty much everybody has some sort of eye bags underneath their eyes. It's normal. I didn't in this just because I wanted it to be so warm. I just sort of cheaped out on the purplish tones. But I will often do that, and as you can see, I do always put pretty much always put colours underneath the eyes to give you that sensation that they are a thin layer of skin, and they're usually quite flushed in comparison to the rest of the skin. Yeah. And then the cheeks are as well, I would say, and the nose. All of those are like the first things that I block in, the colour parts. I always block in the cheeks being darker. I always block in the nose being darker than the rest of the face. And of course, underneath the eyes. That is where I start. Everything beyond that is just, tweaking, filling things in, making it look more 3D. Something you'll notice, but only when you zoom in, is that this part here is just a hue shift. There's no changing of the saturation. There's no sort of going into here to make it look darker. I don't do any of that. I just take the base skin colour and I shift it ever so slightly. And I do that because it gives the illusion of the skin creasing without making it too obvious that the skin is creasing. Again, don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's why I do it. Things like this this is hue shifted. Sometimes when I'm hue shifting, I will ever so slightly change the saturation of it. And that is because it doesn't work properly. It's completely eyeballing that. I could not explain it to you even if I wanted to. It's it's complete. I couldn't even begin. But yeah, I do that sometimes. That's not to do with this though. I did it like this because I wanted the hues between these to be very different from each other. I didn't want them to be both yellowish shades. And that's because the light will be hitting there, but it will you still want it to have that sort of 3D shading aspect to it. You don't want it to just all be flat colours, or at least I don't want it to all be flat colours, because then it will, it will look flat. It won't look like it's bending over, which it is. It's flipped over. So to combat that, I didn't use the yellow or any of these colours. I used a pink. And that gives you, it gives you the sensation that it is still flipped over, but it does not look like it's too much in the shade. Yep. Does that make sense? I hope so. My hue shifting stuff goes back a very long time. I got this here. This is an old drawing of mine. Sorry if my voice is a bit bonked. I am taking drinks, if you can hear that. You can probably hear that. But from this, you can see that I found out about hue shifting and about bright colours, and I went ham with it. I would make the places that were the most in the light very saturated, and then I would make the parts in deep shadow extremely saturated as well, but a different hue. That's where it comes from. I just wanted to sort of cover that and give you a sort of view into my past. This is a Wattpad book. You will have noticed I had an art book a very long time ago where I used to post stuff. It's just, it makes drawing and painting so much more fun, I think. It's just, I'd get bored if I didn't. I don't know if I've got any other, well, I've got this. This in particular, I think illustrates how important backgrounds are, at least, again, for me. This background colour is quite nice. I like doing reddish purple colours in the background. I very much enjoy that. But that, I put in that background colour quite early, and it did affect the way that I coloured the skin. This is the base. This is my base reference, my colour reference. And as you can see, they don't really have the same sort of vibe. This is a lot warmer than this. This looks a lot cooler. But it is the same colour. It's the same base. It's the same, you know, same tone. But because of the way that I shaded it, and because of the background impacting how I shaded it, it looks different. A lot of the colours here are, instead of going, you know, more saturated and going towards this at the same time, instead of doing that, I very much made it desaturated. I used, you know, not very bright colours to shade. And that comes out very much. It looks purplish, even though, like I said before, it's not purple. It just looks purple on the skin. See, that's actually a red, a proper red, but it just doesn't look that way. It's quite fun. It's quite interesting. I do heavily recommend, if you are painting and if you're trying to make it look a certain way or have a certain vibe to it, do use different coloured backgrounds. Because, like I said, it's impacted the way that the mood of this drawing, even though the colours aren't different, the mood is so altered. If I had put in the background earlier, I did not with this one, it would have changed as well. So I don't know if any of that really makes a huge amount of sense. I tried to get things down. I might remake this video, I might not, I don't know. But it is basically just, number one, hue shifting. Hue shift, hue shift, hue shift. Always do that if you want to make your art look like mine. Number two, skin has a lot of different colours in it. You really do have free reign. You can add in purples or colours that are like purple. I've made that clear. You can put in reds. You can put in desaturated sort of orangey colours. You really do have so much free reign. Hair, I would say maybe not so much. And for both of them, you have to remember, if you overdo a certain type of colour, you will end up changing the way that the skin looks. So keep that in mind. I have to keep that in mind myself. It always ends up, it sometimes has ended up impacting the way that the skin looks. Like, his skin always looks quite red when I paint it. But if I painted it different, it would look, you know, would look very different. So keep that in mind. Another thing I do, which I haven't really talked about, is of course clipping layers, changing the line art colour, very important. I typically make the line art colours very, very dark. I also change it depending on, you know, which line it is. This is very dark because I wanted it to both be coherent to both sides of this this painting. So it has red tones, but it also looks okay with yellow as well. But it's very dark because that is, you know, the parting. That is a very dark part of the hair, or a part of the hair that I'd want to accentuate, if that makes sense. You know, I do all of that. I do the clipping layers. I make it so that that makes it look more 3D. And that is pretty much the whole thing. How do I do it? Well, first of all, I don't know. I'm still not happy with the way that I do art. I have a lot of room to improve. But what I would suggest is 3D renders are great for practicing lighting. I'm sure that a lot of people know this about me, but I have done a lot of studies on FNAF models, just because Scott is so good at getting lighting, and just because there's a lot of renders out there, fan renders, that also make it really, see, here he is. A lot of fan renders that also have really fun and interesting lighting, and they're so helpful because obviously they haven't painted that. They have a model with, the base colors, and then they put on lighting, so it's more realistic. And that helped me a lot. That did help me. So, that's what I would recommend. My voice is dead. Oh dear. But I hope this helped. It was nice talking about it. It was fun. Thank you if you've listened to all of this. And goodbye.